Hey there, I'm Sarah, and I'm going to share with you today all about the books that I have read within the past year that I have found super helpful to my life as a homeschool mom. YouTube is one source that I turn to often for inspiration, but it's not everything. You can't find everything that you need to know or that you should use for development as a homeschool mom on YouTube, as great as it is. I love seeing other people's updates. I love seeing their curriculum choices. I love hearing about their experiences and reviews of different curricula. But there are deeper heart issues sometimes that we need to deal with as moms in general, and also just some homeschooling things that could be really helpful to address through other sources. Today, I'm going to share with you the books that have really inspired me this past year. This is the first kind of video that I've ever done about this, and so let me know if this is helpful, and maybe I'll plan one every year or every quarter or whatever in the future, just discussing professional development. For each of these books, I'm going to tell you the title and the author and then a little snippet of what I found helpful from that book. I'll also leave them all linked in the description box below so that you can easily find them. Let me know if you have read these books and what you thought of them in the comments. I love chatting with you guys. I try to answer every comment on my channel as much as possible, and so I will chat with you guys in the comments. The first book is Giving Your Words by Sally Clarkson. Sally Clarkson is a classic in the homeschool world. She is known for her classical education approach, but also just for her really encouraging style and her way of encouraging moms to be the best that we can be. Giving Your Words was really challenging for me because I love words of affirmation, but with my own children, I actually find myself not giving those words very often. And so Giving Your Words is a challenge to give life through the things that we speak over our children, to our children, consciously choosing to address them and notice them. And I found it very, very encouraging. Desperate by Sarah May and Sally Clarkson. Sarah May is a blogger within the mom world, and she wrote back and forth with Sally Clarkson and shared her letters with Sally in this book. And a lot of the things that she asked Sally Clarkson were things that I was in the midst of dealing with in that very moment. It was very encouraging and also very hope-giving. For the Love of Discipline. I found this book to be an extremely gracious blend of love and strength and grace. And often when I am disciplining my children, when I'm training them up, when I'm teaching them, I can find myself really discouraged or distracted and feeling like I am not getting anywhere. And this book is just an encouragement that this is what our goal is with training our children, and also just a responsibility overall with them. It's one of those books that kind of just opens your eyes afresh to the privilege that you have of raising your own kids. The Most Important Place on Earth by Robert Wohlgemuth. One of the things that really has stuck with me from this book is the importance of making home a place where people feel loved and they feel welcomed. And that can be in simple things such as addressing them when they come through the door with joy, just being so excited to see them and noticing them and taking the time to put down your own things and to really pay attention to the people who come through your door. There are so many good takeaways from this book. I highly recommend it. Along with For the Love of Discipline, I found the book Triggers by Amber Leah and Wendy Speak very helpful. This book is a 31-day, I believe, devotional. So there are bite-sized pieces that you can read every day. And that's really helpful as a mom because I often find myself trying to make my way through a book and wishing I had more time, or falling asleep as I'm reading it. And these are such bite-sized pieces that you can easily read a chapter and make headway each day. And I really should read this book again, but it's extremely encouraging in finding practical ways and maybe some reasons why you're dealing with anger issues with your own children, with the things that might be actually triggering your responses to your kids. And it's very, very practical. Raising Confident Kids in a Confusing World, a Parent's Guide to a Grounding Identity in Christ. This is by Ed Drew. He is a children's pastor, or was a children's pastor, and he has a lot to say about raising kids who really feel that they belong to the family of God and who really feel a strong family culture within their home. He addresses all kinds of issues, all of them really apply to today's kids. There are some more modern issues, but also just age-old issues that he addresses in his book. And I found this really helpful when thinking about how do I want to raise my kids. My kids are pretty young still, but we're trying to be very conscious about the goals that we have for our family and raising them. The Best Yes by Lisa TerKeurst. As a homeschool mom, I find that there are so many things I can do that I have committed to or that I want to do. And so deciding what are the best things to commit myself to and how can I make sure that I uphold my responsibility to do my best in those things. This is the topic of Lisa TerKeurst's book. And I find it very challenging to make sure that I am giving my best yes, committing myself to give my best to the things that I do dedicate my life to, and choosing to say no to other things if those are going to mean that I cannot be responsible for the things that I have committed myself to. In this stage of life, I find my limitations to be much closer to home, and that will change as time goes on. What God Has to Say About Our Bodies by Sam Allberry. This book was highly recommended by an interview that I listened to on a podcast one time, and it was amazing. This is one of the best books that I have actually ever read because it just gives a very clear and hope-filled view of the purpose of us as human beings, our tie, that we are our bodies, and that we have an amazing hope in the resurrection of Christ. There are some modern day issues that the book addresses. That was one of the things that originally drew me to this book, but overall, it applies to so much. It's just about all of life. This book, if you are looking for something to really inspire you, I really suggest picking up this one. Another similar book is Faithfully Present by Adam Ramsey. Similarly blew my mind. Amazing. This is meaty stuff, and it's stuff that should be just very basic and seems very basic, but and I think our modern day world, it just becomes that much more rich because we find ourselves being able to reach across the globe, and even me coming to you through YouTube, we sometimes forget our limitations. And so Faithfully Present is a challenge to be present faithfully where God has put you, that He has put you in a specific time and place in history, place in the world. He has put you in a body. You're a human, and all of the limitations that come with that. And that is God's choice for us. We aren't supposed to be unlimited. And so finding freedom in what God has chosen for our makeup, our beings, is part of the message of this book that I found really encouraging. The Tech-Wise Family by Andy Crouch. This book came highly recommended by several families in my community, and it is transformative. Andy Crouch has a lot of research in his book about the effects of screens and technology on our relationships and our ability to connect. I have heard other interviews where people talk about the brain formation, especially in young children, and just the center where prefrontal cortex, where self-control is developed and the ability to control impulses, and just how screens affect that. And so it's overall a very sobering book. It has led our family to choose to completely eliminate TV in our daily lives. You might see we have one TV back there. We still have one, but we are separating ourselves and our kids from screens. Another thing it has led me to do personally is to leave my phone connected to my charger all day long in one spot, so it's not on me, it's not distracting me from my children and from my family. I know that's not a possibility for everyone, but this book does call you to some radical steps for the sake of better things. And I really like the message of the book of using technology to bring us together rather than to make us more lonely and separate. The image of people sitting in a living room and being on their phones together versus even just a family watching a movie together and discussing it together is very vivid. I have witnessed it so many times, and so I really think that this book is extremely important, especially for homeschool families where we find ourselves at home more. It's so much easier for us, I feel like, to slip into, oh, it's I need a break, I just let me go on my phone. I need a break from my day. It'll give me some time to myself, and kind of using it as an escape mechanism rather than something to connect, or a tool, is what the word that Andy Crouch uses. It's a very clear book, and that way it's very sobering. The last book on my list today is Sacred Seasons by Danielle Hitchen. Danielle Hitchen is behind Catechesis Books. She has a wonderful Instagram where she shares different sacred holidays, church holidays throughout the year, and the way that they're celebrated or the history behind them. And I find them very helpful because in my family, we are trying to implement more historical Christian holidays, Christian celebrations. I find them extremely helpful in teaching my children the faith and kind of catechizing my kids and teaching them this is what Christianity is, this is the truth of the faith. And redoing that every year with every holiday is a really good way of ingraining in our minds and hearts, as well as our children, the hope that we have, the faith that we have. And so her book, Sacred Seasons, walks through each church holiday and goes through each cycle within the church calendar year, the liturgical year, and gives some really fun ideas. And there is a lot of really strong biblical truth here. I really, really appreciated this book this year. So those are the books that I have found really helpful. They have been transformative for me as a homeschool mom. I'm also looking at some other ways of developing as a mother, as a homeschooler, and so I love recommendations. If you have any book recommendations, anything you want to chat about in the comments, I love to chat with you guys there, and I try to respond to every single comment on my channel. So let's continue this conversation there. I recommend that you check out my other videos about books if you also, like me, are a book nerd, and I'll leave those linked here. I will see you guys next time. Chat with you soon. Ciao.